going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I'm coming to you with a demo impression for NBA Live 18. The demo released on August 11th, but I had an opportunity to play at the EA Sports headquarters in Redwood City, California, the week prior to its release. Just as a caveat, I want to let you guys know, if you are interested in reading this demo impression, I included it, or I wrote it up for Forbes a little bit over a couple days ago. So if you want to take a look at that, the link is in the description. I'll be covering the same content here in the video. But when I sat down to write my demo impression, I didn't want to base it solely on that 4-hour experience in Cali, so I spent even more time playing the demo at home. So after putting in more hours, I found a few more positives, but unfortunately I also found a few more flaws. So I'm going to break down the good, the bad, and the bottom line of my overall impressions of the Live 18 demo, as well as my expectations and some recommendations for the series moving forward. Now, this demo has depth. EA has delivered a wide variety of options for fans that are looking to test drive the NBA Live 18 demo. You can partake in the One experience, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. After 3 games of the One, which I'm kind of including the Drew League game that you play, which is not technically the One, but you got to play the Drew League game, and then you play 2 more games within the One experience, and then you can unlock the Play Now feature, which lets you play a traditional game with the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You can also play Live Run, so you take the same creative player that you used in the One, which you can use the mobile app to scan your face, and works pretty well. And you take your character onto the street or the summer circuit courts to compete against other human opponents in 5 versus 5 play. Once you've given all of those options a spin, you should have a good idea whether or not you like the game as it plays currently. Now, the One concept is a really good spin on the whole single player campaign mode. The One in EA Sports, it's basically their version of NBA 2K's My Career. As I mentioned, you use the EA Sports Face Scan mobile application to put yourself in the game, and once you've scanned your face and added hairstyles, you then go on your journey to task you with building a reputation as a star on the street courts as well as in the NBA. There are player types, which are like the archetypes in NBA 2K, signature abilities, which are like the badges in 2K, and their upgradable attributes. But the whole dual purpose journey is what sets the One apart, and I think it's a good idea. One thing that EA is doing, and I didn't include this in the article, so I'm breaking away from the script a little bit here, but one thing EA is doing is they are approaching at least with NBA Live 18, they're approaching this whole One mode very similar to like a game like Destiny or a first-person shooter or something like that, because when you're going into a game, you literally have to pick like a loadout. So you've acquired these different signature abilities, you know, like maybe Intimidator or something to that effect. But some of them you'll take into games. You'll have an option. You can unlock the slots of how many different ones of these signature abilities that you can take into a game. So it's very much like perks and things like that in Call of Duty. So I think it's an interesting approach. I don't know how simulation it is, but I think it's an interesting approach to a sports video game that really has not been done before. So we'll see how fans take to that. Now, the street ball games to me are fun. They're the most fun I had playing in the Live 18 demo, and that was whether or not we were in the One or in the Live Run. Many of the gameplay issues that I'll talk about a little bit later can be hidden in this concept, because it's really just fun to play if you're playing with the right group of people, especially. Another thing that I really like about the game is the ball handler versus defender mechanic. That's the one aspect of the gameplay that, to me, EA has nailed. Playing good defense comes down to staying in front of your ball handler, anticipating the moves to cut off the dribbler and contesting shots. The on-screen arrow that signals green when you've stopped the dribbler's progress is almost as rewarding as a green release on a jump shot. On offense, players have to use the weapons at their disposal to create space or to get to the basket for a shot. It's like a virtual game of rock, paper, scissors, And for me, it's the one aspect of the Live 18 gameplay that I would not change. Now, I'm not sure if I've ever played a demo with a soundtrack that was as good as Live 18. I can't say I like every song, but the tracks capture the mood and the identity of the game in a major way. When a video game soundtrack is being curated, that's really what the goal is. Jeff Van Gundy and Mike Breen, they returned to do the commentary for Play Now games. It's not a lot of new content, but the duo still does a good job with the comments, and it fits the action on the floor. Their timing and their voice inflections are appropriate for the intensity of the play, although there are a few more references to stats and such would be a good idea. The halftime show in Play Now is mostly unchanged, so I'm a little bit hesitant to mention this as a positive, but it's been one of the strongest aspects of NBA Live's presentation over the last few versions, and for whatever it's worth, I think it's still the best halftime show in any sports video game. And you take a look at some of the, pretty much every sports video game that's out there that has a halftime show, or is even eligible, or that's even applicable, Live's halftime show is the best. So now let's get into the negatives. There are a good number of gameplay issues, but one of the biggest is the ball physics. The basketball just doesn't bounce the way a real one does, and it doesn't interact with the player's hands properly. At times it looks as if it doesn't touch the floor off the dribble, and when your player is sprinting, the ball is almost like a soft stuffed circle that's on a string. Loose balls caused by block shots or deflected passes often die on a roll much quicker than they should, so there's work to be done to add some much needed life to the rock. Now, these facial renders are very inconsistent. For every render that looks like this one, this LeBron is really good. I think it's actually even better than 2K's LeBron. But for every one that looks like LeBron, there's one that looks like this. This just, I mean, it's really, if we were doing player faces, tattoos, and shoes right now, I would have to take a really long moment to just focus on this. On this generation of consoles, there's simply no excuse for a facial render like the one EA Sports has given Draymond Green. It literally looks like it came from an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 game. This kind of unevenness is hard to ignore. Unrealistic animations have long been a bugaboo for the NBA Live series, and that's still the case in the new demo. It's not as bad as it has been in the past. In fact, there are a few really sweet looking scoop layups and dribble moves, but unfortunately, for every ooh moment, there's an ew moment. Some of the dunks still have that exaggerated gravitational pull that appears to yank a player out of the air too quickly. There are other instances where a player attempting a contested layup will fall to the floor, but his stumble is very unnatural. It almost looks like a collapse rather than a fluid tumble that we see in a real NBA game after a contact on a layup. And many of the jump shots off the dribble are hitchy, including the Warriors' Steph Curry. The CPU doesn't appear to recognize cutters as well as it should. This can be seen when defending the pick and roll. If you're controlling the defender whose man is setting the pick and subsequently rolling to the basket, you're not made to pay for allowing your assignment to go to the rim. The ball handler will either hold the ball too long before making the pass, or he just won't deliver it at all. This can be easily tuned, I'm hoping, but in the demo, it's still an issue. Overpowered block shots are also an issue. It's another aspect of the game that can be tuned, but it is flawed at the moment. Some of the block shots look great, but others are a little over the top. This happens in both street games and in Play Now mode. The Boston Celtics 5'8" point guard Isaiah Thomas rose up to block my 7'1", 300-pound center shot at the crossover event in Seattle during the one game play, and I'm still not over it. I captured a screenshot just for evidence, because some of this stuff I wasn't able to actually capture the video, but I had to show somebody that this actually happened. In a Play Now game, I was playing as the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I don't have any visual proof of this, but trust me. And Kevin Durant broke away from LeBron James. I was, like I said, playing as the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he breaks away from LeBron on the perimeter. He was headed in for a dunk, but I switched to Kevin Love as the last line of defense. So Good luck stopping KD in this situation, right? Especially with Kevin Love, who's not known for his shot blocking or interior defense. Wrong. Love rose up and swatted Durant's dunk out to the three-point line. Now, it looked cool, and I was happy I got the stop. However, I was embarrassed because that sequence was super unrealistic. There are too many moments in the game like this, especially with as block shots are concerned. Now, the star players are, a little bit overpowered. I think they are. I'm all for making star players look like stars, but far too often guys like Kyrie Irving, LeBron, and others are just simply unstoppable, even against smothering defense. I've buried more heavily contested threes in live than should be allowed in any simulation basketball game. In real basketball, that happens from time to time, but not as frequently as it does in Live 18, at least in the demo. Now, one of the best innovations in sports video game AI is the CPU's ability to adapt to user tendencies. This doesn't appear to be present or tuned properly in the Live 18 demo. You can routinely attack the same areas on the floor and experience success, and the CPU will not adjust. Now let's talk about the bottom line. The first thing that anyone considering purchasing NBA Live should understand is that this is not a simulation basketball game. There are too many holes in key areas that designate sim or arcade to call it a simulation game. That said, I'm not even sure that EA Sports should be aiming for a demographic that is looking for a sim experience, at least not at this stage of the series development. Satisfying the sim sports video game fan requires a product to have depth in features, presentation, and gameplay. Live 18, at least in the demo, doesn't appear ready to deliver on all three of those areas. There are a lot of negatives to point out in Live 18, but at times, the game is peculiarly fun. It's hard to pinpoint why you might enjoy certain aspects of the gameplay, especially when it can be less than realistic at times. But I found myself more amused with this demo than I have been with previous versions of the series. Usually, I'm a hardcore broadcast cam guy in all basketball games. But I found this particular game looks better and it plays better from the baseline cam. Now, did that tweak help, to hide all of the flaws? No. I believe that EA Sports would be better off abandoning the real NBA aspect of their game and focusing purely on the street, and the summer league circuits. What does that mean? The one should be the entire experience at this point, and all of the development team's resources should be focused on making NBA Live 19 the best single player campaign and 5 versus 5 virtual basketball experience possible. They don't need to be dealing anything at all with franchise mode right now. They can even dump Ultimate Team, which we know they probably won't because of the microtransactions and the revenue that can be made there, and the whole exhibition play now mode. It's not ready. My expectations are low for the franchise mode, Ultimate Team, and even the WNBA concepts in Live 18. The WNBA is a great addition conceptually, but if we're only getting access to this in a play now or exhibition mode, it doesn't have much life. So all of those features that I mentioned above or previously, they could be shallow and underdeveloped in Live 18. So then where really is the value? Including those modes as bare bones inclusions are only going to drag down the appreciation of the product, because it's impossible not to compare it to a more fleshed out and polished NBA 2K series. EA needs to focus on its strengths, build on those, and perfect them before attempting to produce a full NBA basketball game. It just doesn't appear to be a battle that it can win at this point. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless. Peace.